I'm Natalia Ortiz, and this is a special edition of Currents.
The annual appeal is a great opportunity each year to stop and think and remember what God has given us and then figure out how we can share that with others.
Good evening, and thank you for joining us for this special edition of Currents. Tonight we're talking about the Brooklyn Diocese Annual Catholic Appeal. Each year the bishop launches this special fundraising effort, asking the people in the pews to give something extra to help support a wide range of programs. Last year the appeal raised $8 million. As you're about to see, that money can have a dramatic impact on countless lives.
Being Catholic means a lot of things. Principally, it means being faithful to Christ and obedient to Him. And one of the things He asked us to do was to respect and build His church. And we do that in lots of different ways, by our participation, by our prayers, and by stewardship.
Stewardship is a way of imitating God. It's a way of living out the image of God that is imprinted on our souls.
We as individuals and as a parish community have been very blessed, and we have to express our gratitude to God for all our blessings. And stewardship gives us a way of doing that.
We would have nothing without God. We have life, and everything we have basically comes from God. But if we're a steward, we see in a way that God lends us these things for our use, and that within it there is a generosity that we must exercise.
As other people express needs in the kingdom of God, whether it's immigrants who come to our shores, whether it's our young people who need a better education in the church, that's the voice of Christ. That's the voice of God calling us to take better accountability for our resources and make sure that we get those resources to the people of God who need it the most.
It's important that we recognize the great needs of the people of this diocese. We are not a place where there is great wealth. There are people who are usually in need, new immigrants, middle-class people, people struggling to make a living. But I think in many ways we live up to the challenges that are before us, especially for taking care of those most in need, and that's part of what our work of the annual appeal is about.
The overall mission of Catholic Charities is really to serve as the diocese's expression of its commitment to the poor, the new immigrant, those who've been disenfranchised, those who experience very special challenges in life. It's really the expression of our church in this wonderful Diocese of Brooklyn and Queens partnership with community.
The Catholic Migration Office has roots in assisting newcomers, regardless of their religious affiliations, with educational, legal, and pastoral services. Today, thanks in part to funding from the annual Catholic Appeal, the office continues to serve recent migrants to the diocese with its educational services, legal services, and pastoral services departments.
Think of how much parish priests mean to you. This is a program where we form parish priests. Well, it takes a lot for the church to form a seminarian. These men are very generous, but studying for the priesthood is a full-time job. That means they can't hold jobs, and as a result, for some of their basic needs, I look to support from the wider church.
Faith formation and religious education are not just about classrooms, and they're not just about young people. It's really about all people who are called to be disciples of Jesus Christ. And so our ministry is very much multifaceted and essentially involves forming people throughout the diocese so that they can be better disciples of Jesus Christ.
Catholic schools are important for the education of children. They help them to create within themselves a core of values and a mode of conduct that will help them make right choices as they age and become successful members of the society in which we live. I was principal of a school that was not able to sustain itself, and for many years it was able to go forward and educate many children because of the annual appeal and the money we received from it. Presently in this school I have at least 52 children who benefit from the annual appeal. Without that money, these children would not be able to be here, and we would not be able to offer them the Catholic education that is so necessary for children in this day and age.
A good part of what comes in the annual Catholic appeal from the people is given back to their own parish for the needs of the local church. And I know here in my own parish, this has been a great, great help to us. A perfect example is 3 years ago, we realized that as beautiful as our church is, Regina Pacis, when it was built, the entrances are all 8 feet high. And elderly people and handicapped people had no way to get in because there are beautiful steps in the front of the church, but not very practical.
Our mother house was closing, and I had to find another place to live. And the sisters invited me to come here. When I came and I saw the ramp, it was the answer to prayer, because I knew I would be able to do that. I would be able to come to Mass every morning and feel comfortable about doing it, because I would be able to go up the ramp.
When you want to get things done, you need the collaboration and cooperation of the people, and many people. And that's an occasion for stewardship. And as it says in the Bible, and so it happened. And the people gave the money, and we built a beautiful ramp outside.
It's accessible not only to me, but to many, many others.
We have this parade of wheelchairs and walkers and nurses and people helping them. And the people are just so grateful to see their own church again. They cry when they come in the church because they thought one day they'd never see the inside again, but now they can. And when the people see how we spend their money, they are happy to give, because their donation is helping somebody other than themselves to be able to get in and out of their own parish church.
The school closed, the parish could no longer use that building for a lot of parish meetings. We had to move everything over to the parish center building. Now, my predecessor, Monsignor Sanchez, said to me, you know, that building will need some upgrading, and that we decided to make that the focal point of this year's appeal for the parish.
There was a need for an elevator in that building, so Monsignor Olgel worked on getting that contracted, but in the meantime asked the people of the parish to consider contributing to the cost of that through the annual Catholic appeal.
And it really did motivate the people in the parish in general to contribute more to the annual appeal.
The generosity of the faithful, the people who attend church here, has been a tremendous blessing for both parish communities, and enables Monsignor Olgel to keep the buildings up and to provide space for the activities that happen outside the church building.
The parish center consists of a gymnasium on the main floor, which is up a flight of steps, and then a lower level with a series of meeting rooms, which is down 2 or 3 flights of steps. It's a 100-year-old building. It was really difficult for our senior citizens especially to get down those steps. I'm very happy that we will be able to have a building that is better able to accommodate a greater number of our parishioners. I think it's rewarding to participate and to support the annual Catholic appeal. It's enlightened self-interest, but it's also an enlightened approach to faith and stewardship to help to live out the communion and the faith that we feel is the most essential part of our life as human beings.
It was the dream of the original founders of the parish to have a church, but it took us a long time to get to this point, and it was about 8 or 9 years ago when we began the process of making the plans, doing the fundraising, and a lot of people helped us to do that. There were a lot of committees, there were a lot of people involved in the planning and the fundraising for the new church. So it was a real community effort to make this project come to life.
At first it was a little bit tough. You know, people want to know what church you're going to build, what kind of church are you going to build? You know, what is it going to look like? And people are hesitant to jump right in. But I think it grew. It grew. The fever of
building a new church for this parish, having not had, a grand church like this, really grew and people caught on and started to give money to do that.
We're not able to raise all the money with the campaigns that we had to pay for the new church. So this year, we put aside the money that came back to us from the annual Catholic Appeal, and we put that towards the debt reduction for the new church. So the annual Catholic Appeal not only helped the diocese this year, but it also helped our parish to pay off some of the debt for the new church.
It's really God's money. He has given us that money as we work and as we support our families, but we're giving it back to Him. And giving it to the diocese is a way of giving back to God what He's given us, the many blessings that He has given us. And this is one of the ways that we give back.
Well, we're all part of the parish, and we're all part of the diocese. We worship together, and we need to support not only our local parish, but the diocese as a whole. We need to contribute and help support the bishop in what he's trying to accomplish in the diocese on a grander level than just his parish alone. We're all one family, and we need to contribute.
The appeal is an indispensable part of our life. One, it's been indispensable in getting people excited about being stewards for the church and for the diocese. We've always exceeded our goal here, and we've always done very well with the appeal. But it's also important because we go over goal, and our people are very generous. Anything that comes over goal goes right back to the parish. The appeal has been instrumental in meeting the bottom line at times, and also in meeting the demands that come to us financially in the parish as we seek to grow and develop.
This is an old church, which is 106 years old, and we have had problem with leaking roof, and the leaking roof has damaged the walls of the church. So first we had to pay for the repair of the roof, and then we have to repaint the whole church because many of the walls have been damaged.
It's my job and Bishop Santaric's job to do our best to stem the tide of that roof damage. And last year, the money that came back to us from the appeal helped us to jumpstart that initiative. It's a very, very critical matter that people understand that we're at a critical moment in the diocese with all these churches that are over 100 years old, and even churches that are younger. They have suffered wear and tear. Now is the time, if we want these buildings for the next 20, 50, and 100 years, to bite the bullet, do everything in our power to support the annual Catholic Appeal, and make sure that we can do what we need to do for these buildings. So the people of God, the Catholic people of God, can gather and worship for another 100 years in this great diocese.
When we participate in solidarity with our brothers and sisters by sharing what God has given us, we are assured of a reward, because as has been said so many times, the scripture tells us God is not outdone in his generosity. He will always do more for us than we do for others.
Giving, especially giving extensively, is never going to be easy. But what makes it easier, is to really deeply believe in the good that our giving accomplishes.
No one is requested to give more than he can, but everything you give generously will accrue to your own benefits, in the words of St. Paul.
In order to achieve some of the spiritual goals of our lives, and in order to help other people, we have to give some of the material things God has given us for the use of others. So the annual appeal is a great opportunity each year to make that commitment. It usually takes people a whole year to live it out, but it's a wonderful opportunity to stop and think and remember what God has given us, and then figure out how we can share that with others.
This is our time. This is our finest hour. This is our moment to claim the supernatural power of God and say, if we give, even when it hurts, we will be better than we've ever been as a diocese. Our strength is not in our money. Our strength is in our spirit of sacrificial giving, even when it hurts. And for that, even more than in the best of our financial times, God will bless us.
Kingly people,
Stay tuned. When Currents returns, I'll sit down with the Vicar of Development for the Brooklyn Diocese to talk about the ins and outs of the Catholic appeal. Welcome back to this special edition of Currents. I'm Natalia Ortiz. Tonight we're talking about the annual Catholic appeal for the Diocese of Brooklyn. Earlier we showed you what the appeal has done to benefit the diocese and its parishes. Joining me now is Monsignor Jamie Gigantiello. He's the Vicar for Development for the Diocese of Brooklyn, and he's also a familiar face to net viewers because he's the co-host of Breaking Bread. Monsignor, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Thanks. Can you explain to us why the appeal is so important to the diocese?
Well, it is the annual Catholic appeal is the largest fundraising source for many of the charities and programs and ministries that the diocese provides to the people of Brooklyn and Queens.
And during this recession, which we're going through as a country, the church also seems to be affected. How so?
Well, because many of the people in our diocese have lost their jobs, some of them have lost their homes. Everyone is affected by the downturn in the economy. So, of course, charitable giving is sometimes one of the first things that people cut back on. Right. So, you know, we did lose some larger donors, but we had to make up for them, and we received some other smaller donors, and you have to work a little harder because for every one large donor you receive, you may have to pick up 3 or 4. But the people of the diocese really came through last year because we achieved the same amount that we did the previous year.
Okay.
So even though the goal was $8 million, we had pledged over $11.5 million, and we received $10.5.
And what advice do you have for people who want to contribute but perhaps are financially strapped now because of the recession, some of these same people you speak about?
Well, I always say, even when they're not financially strapped, I always say, give whatever you can.
Okay.
You know what you can give, that's between you and God, and you make your own personal sacrifice. So I always say every little bit helps. If you can't give this year because you're really strapped, that's fine. But if you can give a little bit, every little bit helps.
So we've seen in the video some of the projects that the appeal helps out with. Give us a sense of how the parishes get the money at the end of the day when it's all collected.
Well, to achieve the $8 million, the diocese assigns each parish a goal. But then everything over the goal that's received goes back to the parish. And this is kind of like an incentive to the pastor and to the people of the parish to make their goal, because everything over it will come back, and they can see the fruits of their sacrifices and the work.
Yeah, they can see their money in action,
right.
I guess is what you're saying.
Exactly.
Okay, I get that. And so if somebody wants to learn more about this or get involved, what would you say they do?
Well, first, if you have given in the past, you would have received something in the mail. You will receive a letter in the mail. Otherwise, on Commitment Sunday, pledge cards will be given out in the mail. Or you can go on our website, and you can go to the Annual Catholic Appeal, or you can call the parish giving office.
Okay. And, how long is the appeal? How long does it last?
Well, it begins in the beginning of Lent,
and
it goes to the end of the year, December 31st.
Okay, so they have pretty much, they have enough time then to get their contributions.
Sure. We're just beginning this. We just ended last year, but we're beginning the new appeal this year.
What would you say is the message that you want everyone, all our viewers, to take with them after having seen this video and this whole program?
Well, I think the message is that this year is the year of the priest, and we saw that in the video. And the theme is, we are a priestly people. God's love shines through all of us. And the message, I think, is that we're all called to the priesthood because of our baptism, the priesthood of Jesus Christ. And to be a member of His church means to share the resources that God has given to us, all the gifts that He has given to us, to be good stewards of the gifts that God has given to us, and to share those gifts with one another. And when we do that, we follow Jesus' commandment to love one another. And that's what we do.
Monsignor, can you give us any examples of how the money that comes from the Catholic appeal has benefited, I don't know, a specific example of in your parish, for example?
Well, in my parish, a number of years ago, I wanted to put in a ramp for our seniors. We have a senior citizen center, but it's a flight down. They had to walk down a flight of stairs. So I wanted to put in a ramp. And that year, I spoke about it, and I said everything over the goal will be put towards the ramp. And I told them how much the ramp would cost. And we collected the full amount of money to put in the ramp. And by the end of that year, we were able to put in the ramp, and the seniors were benefiting from that ramp.
About how old is your parish?
Well, I have an older parish. Many of the parishioners in my parish are old and they're in their 70s and 80s. Some of them even in their 90s, and they're still active.
Right.
But the flight of stairs was a little difficult for them.
Right.
So,
the parish was built without access.
Sure.
And
the parish was built, over 75 years ago. The school was built over 50 years ago, and they didn't have in mind that seniors would be using, the parish hall or the auditorium for.
Yeah, a lot of these buildings are old and they're beautiful, but unfortunately they don't.
Right. Many of the churches too have steps, and a number of parishes this year have put in ramps into their churches too, and from the money they receive from the annual Catholic Appeal.
Okay. And any other examples in other churches perhaps that you can
I know some have done some maintenance, some have done repairs, much needed repairs, and some of them use the money to just pay their bills that they owe to the bishop.
Oh, wow.
Some of their insurances and medical bills that it helps to pay their assessment. So it helps all around.
So I've also seen that it helps with other programs, not just the parish itself, but for example, the vocations office gets some money.
Diocesan-wide,
correct.
We help the vocations office, we help the Catholic schools, the Catholic migration office, faith formation, chaplaincies in hospitals. All those areas are benefit from Catholic charities.
Okay.
So everyone is affected or is helped by the annual Catholic Appeal.
So it is widespread. It's not something that just your parish is going to get, but all of the different departments, I guess you could say, of the Diocese of Brooklyn will be impacted.
Only, out of the 11 or $10.5 million that's collected, $8 million goes to the diocese and all the programs, and about $2.5 million goes back to the parishes.
I see.
So just as everyone benefits from the annual Catholic Appeal, we need everyone to help to support it.
Thank you so much, Monsignor. It was great speaking to you today, and I look forward to breaking bread with you soon.
Maybe we can have you on our show.
Oh, that'd be great. I would love to. I love food. Meantime, you can find out much more about the annual Catholic Appeal at the diocese website. Just visit dioceseofbrooklyn.org. That is all for this edition of Currents. For all of us here, I'm Natalia Ortiz. Thank you for watching, and have a great night.